During my time here at Loyola in my courses, I learned, a lot really from an integrative perspective in theology, a little bit more than psychology, but I would say both. A lot about just, serving other people and how to take what you know and what you've learned here at Loyola and give back. If we're supposed to be men and women for others, we need to know sort of what that other life looks like.
Yeah, there are kind of two stages to my decision to do service after college. The first stage was that I wanted to go to Thailand and be part of the teaching program there with Father Nash. And that was kind of the initial stage where I kind of let my family and my friends know that, I wasn't going to go out and start sending my resume around town. I wanted to do something a little different, a little bit more radical, I suppose. And I signed up and I was accepted into that program, but I ended up leaving it just because it didn't quite feel right. The more I investigated about it, the more I kind of discerned on that opportunity. I found that it wasn't really the right one for me. So then I went and I applied to Jesuit Volunteer Corps Northwest, and that's how I ended up in Anchorage, Alaska.
Well, I've always considered doing a year of service after graduation, and when I was thinking of options, I went to the community service or service after graduation fair and looked at all the options and got really overwhelmed. And then I looked through the booklet, Catholic
Volunteer Network, yes.
And also looked at all those options and then decided that they were all great, but it was more overwhelming to try to choose the best one. And I had met a lot of people who have done Jesuit Volunteer Corps, specifically in the Northwest, and I wanted to go to the Northwest. And I really liked the Jesuit values after my time at Loyola, so it became pretty clear that JVC was the answer, Jesuit Volunteer Corps.
I actually started thinking about doing a year of service during my sophomore year. When I was on my first spring break outreach, people were talking about service after graduation. I knew a lot of people who had gone into the JVC from the class before, like the kids who were seniors when I was freshman. And I was like, oh, and it started stirring around in my head. And after I did my first spring break outreach, I realized I didn't want to do an international service program. I realized there was a need in the States, domestically, and I wanted to address that first.
I think when I was leaving, I was a philosophy major at Loyola. I was geared towards thinking too much, maybe. But I was thinking about what I wanted to do with my life, what I had to offer, what were my gifts, and I realized that I didn't quite know myself as well as I really wanted to, and I was comfortable with. I have no shame in saying that. It's just the reality of it. I had a lot of great experiences in high school and college, and my whole life, but I didn't quite know how I was going to use those gifts for the world.
I did a bit of service through CCSJ when I was here, and predominantly a lot of my service experience, and I would say sort of my conversion of heart into wanting to lead a life with more service, was through a program called LeaderWorks that I did back in New Jersey. And I realized that there's a great need out in the world, that a lot of people live very differently than I do, but that people who are living differently than I do and myself, we have so much in common and so much to give to one another. And so after I graduated from college, I felt like this was the perfect opportunity for me to serve in a way that was completely integrated in every aspect of my life, that it wouldn't just be something that I did on the weekends or once a week, but that I could take a year of my life and volunteer. And I chose Maggie's Place because it connected both with my faith community as well as women, and that was women's rights, women in need, different struggles that women had. Has been something that I've always connected with, particularly here at Loyola.
For me, it just made sense. I said, before I can actually go out and really commit myself to a job and offer myself to some employer, I want to know what I can offer. I want to really be certain of myself. And in that sense, Jesuit Volunteer Corps is perfect, and you might hear me kind of gearing this decision in a very selfish sense, but it was a selfish sense. I made this decision from that selfish perspective, is what can I get out of it? while actually kind of contributing. I knew that I had something to offer through my 4 years at Loyola. I had a great education. You know, I had a lot of great experiences with Center for Values and Services, it was at the time. Now it's CCSJ. So I knew I had things to offer, but I just didn't know in the grand scheme of things what I had to offer.
I went to this service fair and Maggie's Place was there, and it just seemed to fit all of my criteria. It was, you know, service, and it had an integrated faith component, and I was working with women, and I was also, you know, going to get a chance to work with babies, which is never a bad thing. It was absolutely wonderful.
So I started like throwing the idea around of some sort of service program. I knew I wanted to do a faith-based service program because my call to service definitely comes from my Catholic faith, and JVC just seemed like the right fit. Through sophomore and junior year, I talked to a lot of people who had done JVC, both in CCSJ and campus ministry, and just started kind of like looking at the website, like very easing into it very gently. And the summer between junior and senior year, I really discerned, okay, like JVC is the right program for me. What geographic region do I want to apply to? What kind of work do I want to be doing? And they helped me through the application process to really sort out those questions and decisions.
Well, I had a deal with my parents that I wouldn't go outside the United States. I graduated from Loyola and went to El Salvador, but just for 10 days. So that was sort of a way for me to work around our agreement and say, hey, I'd like to see what poverty looks like outside the United States, because I know it's so different. And Encounter El Salvador was just an amazing program. So I did that for 10 days and then agreed with my folks that I was going to stay in the United States. And Arizona is pretty far from New Jersey, but you know, it was in the United States, and they were happy for me that I knew what I wanted to do after school, that I felt like I had a direction and a purpose.
Once I started thinking about JVC, I brought it up to my parents right away. Like, well, after college I'm going to do JVC. I don't know where I'm going to go, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I want to go far away. I didn't mean like I want to be far away from you, but I said I want to go to the West Coast, I want to go to the Northwest, because I'm from New Jersey. Like, it's a year, why not go somewhere where I'd never been before?
They understood that I needed, there was still one more stage before I kind of, and I wouldn't say it's not even entering the real world. A lot of people say, oh, put it off for a year. It's not even really putting off the real world. It's really just redefining the world in which you go. And that, it was a beautiful thing in that sense.
They said to me through the application process, okay, do you want to be placed by job or by location? And I said, well, place me by job, because I don't care where I am if I'm miserable from 9 to 5 every day. And then they said, okay, you're going to go to Bethel, Alaska, which is 400 miles west of Anchorage. So it's in the southwest corner of Alaska. It's off the road system. It's very rural. There's 6,000 people. No one's ever heard of it. I was really scared. My parents were more scared. They thought, oh, Northwest, she'll go to Portland, she'll go to Seattle, she'll go to Anchorage, like places we have heard of and have a concept of. Bethel was not on their radar screen, and it wasn't really on mine either. But while I was scared, I was kind of up to the challenge. They were just very worried. They never questioned me and my discernment process to do a year of service. They knew that that's what I felt called to, and they supported me in that. You know, thankfully I never had to do this is a real thing, you know, I never had to have that argument. But it was very uneasy when I told them they're going to send me to Bethel and I'm going to go. I'm not going to decline it. Like, I'm going to be this far away from you for a year, and I'm not going to come home for Christmas or Easter. But they got used to it, so. And it became like a bragging point. My daughter's in Alaska.
And I think service is great for people who intentionally seek out that year of service, and for people who aren't really sure what they want, because you learn so many different life skills while you're volunteering, and you're doing something that the world needs you to do, so it's not like you're wasting your time. But they were pretty good about it. I think some of them were shocked. Some relatives that weren't as close to me in my development, you know, at Loyola, thought that I was going into some sort of military service. they thought year of service, like in the Army. They sort of just had no concept of volunteering for a year. People were sometimes surprised, but they were grateful that there were young people that were looking to volunteer and just sort of give back. You know, we are so blessed with our education at Loyola, and I've been so blessed my whole life. I've had so many different privileges and learned so much that I wanted to give back, and people really respect that.
Mm-hmm.